G'day viewers, how are you? Made it to the end of another week. How good is that? Being the end of the week, I'm going to make a totally fucked up Friday video. Yes, on a Friday. Not only that, I'm making this a bit early. I mean, what's that craziness? We'll go to YouTube on Friday evening, my time. And I hope this week has treated you well and you're maybe leaning into a bit of a weekend. But hey, what's being fucked up? Look, I'm going to do something that's non-political just to start off for a change of pace. Did you see the cassowary story? A bit of background, like, well, there was always jokes about Australia, everything's trying to kill you, so many animals trying to kill you. And most of the time it's at least a little tongue-in-cheek. There aren't actually that many people killed by beasties in Australia. Sharks is the most common fatality. I think it's been a long time since anyone's died from a snake bite or a spider bite. And despite Bob Catter's weirdness, deaths by crocodile are relatively rare, although they do happen. But yeah, we actually have a bird that will fucking kill you if you give it a chance. It's called the cassowary. And remember when we found out, or if you're like me, it wasn't that long ago, it was like when the Jurassic Park movies came out, found out birds are actually more closely related to dinosaurs than we might have realised. Like they even have those raptors, and we call birds of prey raptors. Well, cassowary is living fucking proof. It is just a walking well, it doesn't talk. It's a walking, living, breathing, fucking dinosaur murder bird. It's got a fucking horn on its head. Not rhinoceros, but this ridge of bone-like structure on its head. And its claws look like the fucking claws of the velociraptors in the Jurassic Park movies. It is a scary bird. Like, Australians would just go, well, you don't fuck. And it's also reasonably large. It's not like as big as an emu, but what it lacks in the size of an emu, it makes up in that it's a fucking dinosaur murder bird. And Australians generally were quite surprised to hear that exotic animal breeders in the US sometimes breed cassowaries because they're big and they're colourful and they're unusual, so some collectors want them. What we weren't surprised by is when we found out one of the breeders got killed by a cassowary. It's an old man, and I think he fell over and the cassowary killed him. And Australians who know anything about cassowaries, the response to this story was, duh. It's like, you give one of these things a chance to fucking kill you, they'll do it. And that was just the beginning of the story, because then more recently it came out, this guy's dead and all these exotic things, they're trying to find new homes for them. They're trying to rehouse the literal murder cassowary. Can you imagine? This thing, I don't know, it's probably about 5 foot tall. It's very weirdly coloured, has this ridge horn on its head, and it killed the last person who owned it. And they said, do you want to give it a home? It needs a nice home. Look, you know, this is like Darwin in action. This is that guy when he's dead. Most Australians just like, yep, this year's Darwin Award winner, because who the fuck pretends something that looks like a cassowary isn't going to kill you if it gives you a chance? It's just absolutely weird. Like I said, most of the time when Australians go, oh, everything's going to kill, we're taking the piss, because most things aren't going to kill you. But when we find out about people just hanging out with cassowaries, we're like, you're an idiot, and what happened is your own goddamn fault. And look, speaking of dinosaurs, unpleasant things, and things that should be in cages, not that cassowaries should be in cages, they should be in the wild, but I'm talking about politicians. We're deep in election campaign in Australia. A couple more weeks till the actual election. But my God, it's getting feisty. The number of candidates for the various parties standing who've gotten in trouble because of things they've said or things they've posted on social media, and they're dropping like flies. The government in particular is having a bad time since they announced their lineup. There's at least 9 who have either withdrawn, been sacked, or are in really friggin' hot water, and that number's probably just going to go up. Like I said, I'm doing this a little bit in advance. This story will probably have changed by the time this video goes live. And so there's at least 9 from the Liberal National Party, at least 2 in the Labor ranks in trouble. I talked about the one dickhead from One Nation But there's a couple other One Nation dickheads who, it turns out, post a lot of smut and racist shit on their social media. They may or may not suffer the same fate. But it's so odd. It's really weird. Like, you look at it, there's this consistency. The things people are getting in trouble for, anti-Muslim hate speech is very common, followed not that far behind by anti-Semitic hate speech, homophobic hate speech, and just general sexism, misogyny, and bigotry across the ranks. But there's some interesting differences. Two who are in big trouble as I speak. One for the Liberal Party in Tasmania, Jessica Whelan. She's had some social media posts just with vile shit has been circulated, but they're screenshots because if they are in fact hers, she's deleted them from her Facebook history, but they kind of look legit. And honestly, at this point, the libs are embarrassing themselves with hackers. There's adopted images, definitely. Now, there is a non-zero chance that is actually true, that someone has faked them. It's just that if I was innocent of these posts and someone had faked them and put them out, I would be angry as fuck. I would not be like this person who was with Scummo on the hustings, just hiding from the media, looking terrified. It's like, I would not be hiding and looking terrified. I'd be front and fucking center saying, this stuff is bullshit. Some prick has faked it and I want them found out. Not hide. No, I think it was fake. Yeah, no, I think it was fake. They may turn out to be fake, but I know for sure I wouldn't be acting like that if some prick had faked shit like that about me. And I wouldn't have to think they were fake. I would fucking know they were faked. And there's also someone on the Labour Party side, a guy called Luke Creasy. And every time I hear his name, I think it's the comedian Joel Creasy, and they're about the same age. And he was good, and he just copped to it in the past, having posted really obnoxious, misogynistic rape jokes and other completely unacceptable shit on social media. And he's quite young, and he just said, yeah, that was about 4 or 5 years ago. I actually did that, and I think it's gross and awful, and I'm not like that. He, as I record this video, is hanging on. Who knows if he'll still be there by the time it goes on. But it brings in this thing. Both Whelan and Creasy are quite young, and we've had this thing like people, say under 40, certainly under 30, who've grown up with social media. There's shit. There is a trail of shit virtually everyone has done that didn't exist for previous generations of politicians or other people in public life. So at what point are people just going to go, you know what, fuck it. I was a teenager, fuck it. Some people do it now, some people in the future. But to me, it's an interesting question. And that's, I guess, depends where your values are. Like, was that ever an acceptable thing to say? Or can you excuse it because, well, it's, shit posting on the internet? Who knows? But it is really becoming a big thing. But less shit posting and far more serious is another wanker from the Liberal Party called AngryAussie. He's a fundamentalist Christian, was very outspoken about how dangerous the gays were with the marriage equality vote. Said he's going to vote against it, despite the fact his own electorate voted quite strongly in favour of it. But he's been in the news a bit this week for a meeting with known neo-Nazi Neil Erikson. The dickheads in the media keep calling this guy, he's a far-right activist. He's not a far-right activist. He is an actual Hitler-worshipping, Nazi ideology-spouting, swastika tattoo-bearing piece of shit. And what's interesting about this is Hastie's in Western Australia and Erikson's on the East Coast. And Erikson travelled across to one of these fucking white nationalist rallies Hastie was part of. It was like, protect the South African farmers. This is one of the neo-Nazi white supremacist bullshit talking points. And first, what was interesting is not Hastie saying, I don't know this guy, or I've never heard of him, I've never been in the same place as him. It was a known fact this guy Erikson had been at this rally, and there are photos of him with Hastie. But when a journo said to him, have you ever met with Neil Erikson? And Hastie going, I'm not going to answer that defamatory question. Okay, point the first. How is a question defamatory? Okay, I know how it can be. The old, when did you stop beating your wife question? Because that's actually a declaration hiding in a question. But at the simple question, have you met this guy? Instead of just saying no, go, oh, I'm not answering that defamatory question. It's like, more than a little suspicious. But then, okay, it was confirmed there's a photo of Hasty with this Nazi scumbag. And Hasty, in a perfectly acceptable defense, said, I did not know who that was. And you can't know everyone. When you're in the public eye, you can't know everyone who comes up to you and says, can we have a photo? And so many people have been caught out by people who, you know, aren't of their particular oeuvre or aren't acceptable, asking for photos. And they go, yeah, sure. But Ericsson has been mouthing off on social media about, oh, no. I was invited. The trip was paid for. I had a secret meeting. And he's basically suggesting he's got recordings of a secret meeting with Andrew Hasty that he claims, even when he's saying about, he says Andrew Hasty's name, Hasty says, don't say my name while you're recording. Now, if that's true, it's not just that Hasty's organising meetings with neo-Nazis, which is reprehensible and he should be fucking out of the parliament for that, but also if that's true, and that's a big if, because let's get real, this Ericsson guy is a lying sack of shit. So he may be completely talking out his ass with this. But if it's true, he's not only been having secret meetings with neo-Nazis, he's lied about it when questioned about it. And that is really going to limit your future. I have no idea what it's like to be in these electorates. Liberal Party's been hit hardest by it. Like, more than half a dozen of their sitting MPs, high-flying front benchers, quit before the election. So those seats are being contested by people completely new to the electorate, so they don't know who it is. And then, having had, you know, they're almost up to double figures of people who were announced as the candidate for that electorate, then pulling out or being kicked out. That's got to be very weird for Liberal voters. And I honestly don't see that going well for Libs. Hey, we've got 2 weeks to go. Who knows what can happen in that time? Could be exciting, could be close, could be an upset, could be an absolute massacre of the Libs. Who knows? I've made no secret of what I want as the result, but the thing I've basically said a few times, anyone who says they can absolutely predict what's going to happen is talking shit. I still think it's incredibly, by far the most likely outcome is a Labour win, probably by a healthy margin, possibly by a humorously large margin. But who knows? It's a wild and crazy world, and lots of things that I would not have thought possible have happened. So, 2 weeks and we'll find out, I guess. And I do just briefly want to talk, as I normally do, about Trump and US politics. Is bizarre. The ongoing saga there with the Mueller report into, well, what the fuck did Trump and his cronies get up to? Well, you know, half a dozen of them are in jail, so nothing good. And what's been interesting this week is the Democrats picking up a bit more steam because they got Trump's stooge attorney general to testify to Congress. And they caught him in a lie. They caught him in a direct lie, which he continues to insist is not a lie, but clearly is, because when he released a summary of the Mueller report and he said, Mueller thinks everything's awesome, he was directly contacted by Mueller in a letter saying, the fuck, dude, no, that is not what the report says at all. Why did you represent like that? That's incorrect. And then to the Congress, you've got Barr saying, no, there's no problems. And they've caught him in a lie. See, and that's what brought Clinton into all his trouble in the 90s. He was not, didn't have an impeachment vote against him because he broke a law, apart from lying to Congress. And lying to Congress can get you busted. So Barr is probably fucked, quite honestly, which makes things look increasingly bad for Trump because he's been paranoid. Now that Joe Biden has officially announced his candidacy, Trump is clearly scared shitless of Biden. He clearly thinks Biden is a threat to him because he just went over the top about why Biden's bad, which he only does. He basically tells you what his fears are. And this week, Biden was endorsed by a firefighters union, which is to be expected. Someone like Biden being endorsed by a union above Trump. And there's a whole thing on Twitter of people saying, oh, I'm a firefighter and oh, I love Trump, fuck the union. And again, completely legitimate. While a union body may endorse one political candidate, it's perfectly reasonable for individuals who are in that union or in that industry to disagree with that endorsement. That's completely legitimate. So Trump went on one of his bloody tweet storms, basically retweeting and liking anyone who said anything along the lines of, oh, I'm a firefighter and I'm going to support Trump. And he's not real bright and doesn't look real close. And he ended up retweeting one because it said, oh, support Trump. But the person had their display name saying, fuck Donald Trump. And they had a Bernie 2020 icon next to their name. So that shows up in Trump's Twitter stream, a username, fuck Donald Trump, because he's honestly not very bright, and he's just narcissistic, paranoid, erratic, and in all probability suffering from a really significant mental impairment. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my next video, because I do a lot of them. Jump in with a comment on this video or let me know what you'd like me to do in another video, and hit me up on the various social media as well. Your support means a lot, so if you tell other people about the videos, that is one of the most positive things you can do to support me. Just share the video with your friends, put it on your social media and tell them they should subscribe and join in. Or remember this easy song. Subscribe to AngryAussie and share this with your friends.